Hey guys, as y'all know that Miss Moore's not going to be here on Monday, so I wanted to go over and do our lesson with you guys so that you wouldn't miss out on math today. And I'm going to do this for you guys tomorrow because as you know tomorrow I will also be out. So we have finished up adding and subtracting fractions, and now we need to talk about how we multiply fractions. And we're going to talk about multiplying whole numbers times a fraction. Before I do that though, let's review. Because one of the things that we can do when we're multiplying fractions is that we can look at it using a visual model, which will help us understand what's happening. We know that 3 times 4, you guys all know the answer to that. But if I draw it out, I've got 3 squares with 4 dots in each. And I know that equals 12 altogether. Okay? Now, if I had the problem 3 times 1/4, and I will put n as my variable there, as my unknown, what would I draw to figure out that problem? Let me give you a story problem to think about. If I have 3 dishes of ice cream, so I have 3 dishes of ice cream, and I decide though that I'm only going to give you 1/4 scoop each. So I have 3 friends, they're getting 1/4 scoop of ice cream each. So I'm going to divide my dish into fourths. Each friend is going to get 1/4 scoop. 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. Okay? Now if I look at this, I know that I've got 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. Which would equal 3/4. We know that repeated addition is the same as multiplication. So when I'm multiplying 3 times 1/4, I'm going to get 3/4, okay? Now, there's another way that you can also kind of manipulate it with manipulatives and see what's actually happening. If we look at this problem, we can actually see the fourths and see how those are added repeatedly to get 3/4. But now if I have pattern blocks, I can also do that. So if I have a hexagon pattern block, this equals 1 whole, okay? If I have a trapezoid pattern block, this equals 1/2, okay? My rhombus would equal 1/3, and my triangles would equal 1/6, okay? And if I put all those on top of this hexagon, I will get wholes, okay? All right, so now let's look at this problem again, but using the pattern blocks, okay? Actually, we're gonna look at a different problem. Let me erase this. You guys are getting a sneak peek of my kitchen a little bit this morning. Okay, so if I say I'm gonna multiply 4 times 1/2, what I'm really saying is I have to have 4 1/2 pieces. So I know that the trapezoids are halves, so I am going to put out 4 1/2 pieces. And I know I have 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. Let's put that up here. And that's going to equal 4 halves. Or if I look at this, I know that a hexagon is a whole. Oh look, I have 1 whole, 2 wholes. So 4 halves would also be equal to 2. And if you remember from Friday, we talked about how the fraction bar really means to divide. So if I have 4/2, I'm really just saying 4 divided by 2, which would be 2. Okay, let's look at another problem that we could do with pattern blocks. Let's look at five times 1/3. Now I said that my third pieces, remember my hexagon is still a whole, my third pieces are represented by a rhombus, okay? So what this problem is saying to me is I have 5 1/3 pieces. So I'm going to count out 5 1/3 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 1/3 pieces. I could say 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, which would give me 1, 2, 3, 5/3. And we know that we have an improper fraction here, and we know that on the state test, they probably don't want you to leave it as an improper fraction. So let's see what else we can do with this. Let's see if I take these and cover up my hexagon, let's see how many it would take to make a whole. Look at that. 3 of these rhombuses make a whole. So another way for me to write this would be a mixed numeral. I have 1 whole and 2/3 left over, okay? Or we could have done what we talked about on Friday. Oops. And we've got 1, that's your whole, that's your numerator, and your denominator. So 1 and 2/3. Okay? Now, what you guys are going to do for me today while I'm out is you are going to have a worksheet that looks like this. Okay, and I will give it to you in the morning, so you should already have this. And you have some fractions that you're going to multiply times whole numbers. Now, there's a website that I'm going to put on Google Classroom for you guys to use, and it's called Math Playground, and it will link you directly to a page where you can use pattern blocks to help you multiply fractions, okay? You can also draw a picture if you don't have the pattern blocks. Before you do that though, let's look at one more thing. We know that 5 times 1/3 is 5/3. 6 times 1/2 is going to give me 6/2. And remember, I would probably want to change these into mixed numerals. But just for you looking at a pattern, just watch, okay? 3 times 1/2 would give me 3/2. 2 times 1/4 give me 2/4. 4 times 1/6 would give me 4/6. If you look at what Miss Moore is doing, you will notice a pattern. You should see that in each problem, your denominator stays the same. Because the size of your pieces, just like with adding fractions and subtracting fractions, the size of your pieces stay the same. Okay? The size stays the same. And then if you will notice, what I've been doing this whole time is multiplying my whole number times the numerator to get my new numerator. And that's the same thing as adding it adding this 1/3 5 times. Now, when I get a mixed numeral like this, an improper fraction like this, I do want to turn it into a mixed numeral. And remember, I can draw out, let's do it like this instead. I could draw out and color in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I know that that is 1 and that is 2/3, and that's my mixed numeral. Or again, I could do 5 divided by 3, and that's going to give me 1 and 2/3. Whole number, numerator, denominator. Okay, so as you're working through these problems on your own today, you can use the pattern block pieces on Math Playground that will help you figure out your answers like I was showing you here on the table. You could go through and do it the pattern way that I've shown you, but remember, when you get your improper fraction, you need to simplify it to a mixed numeral, or sometimes it will be a whole number. Okay, so if you look right here at 2/6, when I divide 6 by 2, how many times does 2 go into 6? 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6, and I have no remainders. So for that problem, when I simplify it, it's just going to be 3, okay? So you're going to work individually on this handout, multiplying those fractions together. I do want to see your work. Again, you can use the pattern blocks on Math Playground, or you can do it the way that I showed you with the pattern.